Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Hamm Lee. On today's Another View on Health, a conversation with philanthropist, entrepreneur, baker, Ironman triathlete, veterans advocate, and fitness fanatic, Mr. Darryl Haley. Darryl is all about healthy eating and active lifestyles, and on today's show, he will share his secrets to living well. And later in the program, how you can participate in a ceremony of remembrance of the millions of Africans who were kidnapped and died during the transatlantic enslavement trade from Africa to the Americas. It's all next on Another View, so stay tuned.
Discussing today's topics from an African American perspective, this is Another View.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Hamm Lee. It's Another View on Health, so we welcome and we are always happy to look for inspiration when it comes to eating and living a healthy lifestyle. And today's guest certainly will not disappoint us. I'm going to introduce him in just a moment, but first I want to say hello to my co-host for Another View on Health, Cardiologist Dr. Newby. Hello there, Keith.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing? Aren't you happy to see the sun?
Oh yeah. No, after several days, my garden loves it though. I'm trying to be. So I'm sure we'll talk about this as the health issue.
Are you growing veggies?
Yeah, I'm trying. My sister's a lot better at this than I am, but I'm trying. My brown thumb is starting to show some signs of green after about 8 years of trying. Probably spending $200 of growing $10 worth of vegetables.
But at least you're trying.
I'm trying.
And our guest today, I know, is going to have a lot to say about that. So Darryl Haley is a native of California and graduated from the University of Utah. He played professional football for the New England Patriots, the Cleveland Browns, and the Green Bay Packers. And after his football career, he competed in the Ironman triathlon and became the first person weighing over 300 pounds to finish the event. Woo. Today, he's a fitness expert, philanthropist, veterans advocate, entrepreneur. He bakes, and guess what? He loves to grow irises. Joining us by phone, please welcome Mr. Darryl Haley. Hello, Darryl. How are you? We're doing great here. We are really, really excited and happy to talk about you. So I don't know if you heard Keith in the very beginning talking about his attempt to become a gardener, but
let me tell you a quick story. I met Darryl Darryl was about 10 years ago or more, probably about over 10 years ago. My banker, actually, I was looking for a place to take my wife on a little break, and she had mentioned to me about this bed and breakfast in Luray, Virginia, and I said, oh, sure, that's be a good idea. We never had been up there, so we go up here and meet Darryl, who's about, Darryl, you about 6'6", 6'7"? So you hear him saying 300 pounds. That's nothing when you got to look through the roof to see him. But I tell you, but this is the most inspirational guy I think I had ever met in my life. I mean, it was so natural for him when you meet him. He'll just get you wanting to do things for your health, and you're like, man, I don't want to do this right now, but he makes you want to do it based on how he presents it to you. And we had the best time up there.
Oh, fantastic.
That was an absolute blast.
Well, you can't get a better endorsement than that, Darryl. I'm going to tell you. But Darryl, as I look at all the things that you've done and that you continue to do, it seems that fitness and healthy eating seem to always rise to the top. Why is that so important to you?
Because I just love life so much, and healthy eating is a way for me to be able to do all the things that I enjoy doing. So most people say, hey, look, I don't want to eat healthy, or I have to eat healthy. Well, no, eat healthy for a purpose, or enjoy a healthy life for a purpose. It's the things that I enjoy doing: swimming, biking, running, hiking, traveling. Eating healthy allows me to do all those great things, and then it also allows me to help other people, which, for me, that's why it's important.
Oh, okay. So all those things you mentioned, if you happen to be a couch potato, they're like, yeah, okay, right.
Hey, do it up there with him.
It just doesn't work.
Go ahead. Hello? Darryl, are you there? Oh, I think we may have lost him for a moment. Well, Keith, you and I would just keep chatting until the producers can get him back. Darryl, are you there? Okay, well, let's do this.
Oh,
Let's
yes,
open up
go
the
ahead.
phone lines and
That's
let's see
fine.
if we can just talk to some folks until we are able to get Darryl back on the line. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call. Have you tried putting some seeds in the ground this year for a garden? Call us and give Dr. Newby
get
some tips while we try to get Darryl back on the line. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Darryl, are you there?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Okay, you disappeared on us for a moment.
Well, I figured Keith I hung up. I was about to tell this great story about he and I eating. So I figured Keith I disconnected me.
Listen, I have nothing but good things to say, Darryl. So I would not to your face do that on purpose. I get somebody to do it in the background.
So, Darryl, let me ask you this, though, because people, especially people who grow up in California, and you're from California, at least on the East Coast, we have this perception that everybody from California is really into healthy eating and
Tofu,
lifestyle
all
and
this stuff.
tofu and everything. I mean, but seriously, how much of that was an influence in your life growing up, or was it?
Well, for me, the big influence in my life, it was actually, but the bigger influence was, I grew up in Compton, California, so let's just put it right out there. I grew up in South Central L.A., and so my goal was to get out of South Central L.A., so, you begin to look at education as a way to get out, you begin to look at sports as a way to get out. But those two together, requires a little bit of healthy eating, because if you're going to study and you're going to be going to class, you need to have a good meal in your stomach. If you're going to be going to practice and you're going to be putting in long hours for training, you need to have a good meal in your stomach. So when you talk about the inner city being a concrete jungle, that's true. But at the same time, you begin to figure out, hey, if I grow some potatoes and some spinach and some corn and tomatoes, I can possibly make things happen. So early on, it became very evident for myself as well as the guys I grew up with, that we begin to grow our own stuff. We can get our vegetables and still survive inside this concrete jungle. So, it's very true, and it's very exciting to be able to, have good food. But healthy eating was definitely a vital part of it.
Wow. So when you went into the NFL, I mean, everything you've done really requires that you have a healthy body.
Yeah. and going into the NFL, you really want to have a healthy body, because you have guys out there who are competing for the starting positions. And then you have guys you're going to be competing against during the season. Well, those guys are not playing. I mean, they're coming. There's a local guy down in Norfolk, Bruce Smith. When he was playing, Bruce was bringing the package, man. So you better be prepared, to handle it. So healthy eating was a vital part, especially during the season. And for me, my weight never fluctuated between 2 and 3 pounds. I wanted to make sure that I was always at my best come Sunday. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So
I was a huge advocate.
So but your body gets beat up. I mean, no matter how you try, you've got to have some kind of not necessarily injury, but your body gets pretty beat up when you're playing pro ball. What made you decide then to go ride a bike for, 20, however many miles it is, swim for 2 miles, run for 26 miles, the triathlon, what made you decide after you finished football, when you could have just said, I take a break here, you ran into that?
Well, people like, you've heard that saying, you say, to know me is to love me.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
to know me, you would really have to love it. And, but what happened after I was done playing, just like you said, it was me and some other friends sitting around watching, the NBA playoffs. And the Ironman triathlon came on television. So we all started laughing, looking at the different people as they were, passing out, and, they were real skinny. And we're like, man, wow, that looks so crazy. So I said to myself, why are we laughing at them? Because none of us can do it.
Oh.
And they were like, a good point. So me being me, I got the application, filled it out, sent it into the World Triathlon Corporation. And then the following year, I went over to Hawaii and began to compete in it. But so for me, it was another challenge. It looked really, really intriguing. So I figured, why not go for it?
Did the people who run the triathlon, were they concerned because of your size and your height? And you don't look like a triathlete in terms of how other people look who do that.
Barbara, they were not concerned. They were horrified. They were like, wait a minute. To be, 200 pounds is one thing, 225 is one thing, but here I am, 300 pounds, every bit of it. I'm talking about swimming 2.4 miles in the open ocean, biking 112 miles, and then running the marathon, 26.2 miles. But here's the catch. I'm not a swimmer.
Oh, wow.
Nor am I a biker, and nor was I a runner, not in those kind of distances. So it required a little bit of training, and they knew that. So what they told me was, if I do 2 triathlons first, one was an Olympic distance, and then the other was a half Ironman, that they would then make an exception and allow me to participate in the Hawaii Ironman. Well, then it becomes a little competitive. So now it's like, okay, I got to do this, not only for myself, but also to begin to let other people know, size is not a factor. Health is a factor. There's a such thing as skinny people. There's a such thing as people who look really, really healthy who are not. So for me, it became more of making a statement that health is a matter of how you maintain your life and how you live your life.
Mm-hmm. Keith?
Yeah, because bumping up against Darryl's like a brick wall. I'm like, so that 300 pounds is like solid muscle. I'm like, dude, what's up? but again, the inspiration is just, he puts it out there, say, I'm gonna do this, and you can't help but get inspired when you see people who will take an initiative to say, I'm going to do this, and he puts his mind forward to say, I'm going to do this, and then he puts the plan of action, which is pretty much, what I've always tried to live my life that same way. You have a plan. You say, okay, this is what I want to achieve. You figure out, okay, how am I going to do it? Mm-hmm. You put in a plan of action, but you follow through. And that's where most of us, I think, kind of fail.
Well, I was going to ask you, Darryl, particularly for African Americans, what do you think is the one thing that keeps us from trying to live a healthy lifestyle? Now, not everybody's going to be, Mr. Iron Man like you, but seriously, I mean, when you look at our community as a whole, we are struggling so much with our health and with eating healthy and with living a healthy lifestyle. So what is it going on with us that is keeping us from doing that?
I would just say understanding, and through the understanding comes consistency. So I think if those two were able to meet somewhere in the middle, it would make the biggest difference. For an example, I just gave a talk this past week where it talked about how to eat healthy. Well, that whole subject matter has become so complex, and it really isn't. But the thing that I suggested was take ground turkey, take some corn, take black beans, and like brown rice. Well, the combination of that makes a complete protein. So now you can take that and make 5 different meals out of it, and you haven't spent $20. So if you have that right there, then you can have it you can have it plain, you can have it as a salad, you can have it with whole wheat tortillas or spinach tortillas. You can have it in the wintertime. You put chicken broth to it and make a stew. So you just had that 4 different ways. And then talk about football season or tailgating or different types of activities or parties. Take those same whole wheat tortillas, toast them, and now you have nachos. But it's still the same thing that you've been making over and over.
Told you, it's got something else.
That is incredible. Say that recipe one more time.
So if you take ground turkey, corn, black beans, and like a brown rice or a grain.
That's perfect. Yeah, and it sounds good too.
It's really good.
Yeah,
you want to enhance it. Well, see, now here's the fun part. If you want to enhance it for more people, just add more corn and more black beans. If you want more flavor to it, get yourself like a chipotle sauce. And there you have it. But now, that can be your foundation. If you were to do something like that 2 to 3 times a week, I guarantee you, Dr. Newby is going to love you because we start talking about a reduction in blood pressure, reduction in cholesterol, reduction in stress, But then you can have the other things that you might enjoy in moderation, a couple of days a week, and so putting those two together, definitely will enhance your health.
Wow, that is fantastic. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. We're talking with a triathlete and entrepreneur and philanthropist and a whole bunch of other things, Mr. Darryl Haley. Bill joins us from Chesapeake. Hi, Bill. You're on the air.
Oh, I've got my own garden in my backyard, a raised bed garden, and also doing container gardening on my back porch. And, listen to the conversation. One of the things I think we've gotten away from is, especially if you grew up in the South, we've gotten away from a lot of things we saw our grandparents have. They had little truck gardens. I hated gardening when I was a kid, hated getting out there and pulling weeds. But when I got my when I got my own house, the first thing I did was put in the garden and started raising my own food.
I have to share a gardening story. And Bill, we appreciate that. Thank you so much for the call. And I'm knowing that you're also eating those veggies that you're growing, correct?
Yes, I do. I love to cook. And one of my favorite things to do is just invite people over and being able to just pull fresh tomatoes, fresh cucumbers.
Oh, yeah.
I'm growing leeks for the first time this year. And I love a lot of French cooking. So, a lot of vegetables, in those French recipes, I'm growing those things myself, and just being able to sit there and in its vein, watch other people eat what I've grown, it makes you feel good.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Just being able to serve them and take care of those people and knowing that you're serving them a healthy meal.
Yes. Thanks so much for the call, Bill. We appreciate it. Go ahead and react to that, Darryl.
I think it's fantastic because they have indoor gardens now, especially where you can actually have a garden inside your house. So I think what Bill is doing is absolutely fantastic. I think more people should do it. Over the long haul, it costs less and you're going to be healthier. But there's nothing like inviting people over to your house, going outside back, and picking your salad and then bringing it back in. I just think that is the coolest thing.
So I have to share this gardening story of mine, okay? Because and honestly, I have a phobia about worms. I'm serious. So one day I decided now I wasn't going to plant a vegetable garden. I was going to do flowers around the house. Oh. And someone had given me a really nice gardening toolkit, and the whole bit. And I had my seeds and all. And I went out and I sat down on the ground and I turned over that first piece of soil.
Wait,
and
what
I
did you
saw
find?
all those bugs in there, and you know what? I nicely picked up that nice little kit they're giving me and put it back in the garage. So, growing.
That's what I say, Darryl. I'll tell you. Well, at least she was honest enough to bring it out front and just say that.
Honest. I'm just going to be honest. But is there something that you can grow? Like you were saying, so they're indoor gardens that you can do, or you can pick the soil so it may or may not have bugs in it.
Have you been out there since?
No.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, Darryl, talk to her, please.
No.
You do want to have some bugs in your garden. You gotta have some bugs in your garden.
Well, just think about when they because when they die, that's fertilizer for the.
I get it.
Well, it is fun though once you start getting into it, And now that I'm actually growing something that's seemingly going to be edible this year, I think I'm
what
actually.
What are you growing?
I tell you what my mistake was before because I don't have my yard's not that big. So I've been doing this year. I'm just doing tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers. Before I tried to do like everything, and I get
green beans
and I put all this stuff in this, the planter, and then what you find is that if you try to put too much in there, it's not going to, you're going to overcrowd, and then you won't get that much, out of it.
So are there bugs in the dirt that you buy in the bag?
No, well, I guess you could probably buy some bugs in. but typically, no, you're not going to find that. But, the thing is, though, even if you do that, all you got to do, just take some Raid or something out there, Barbara. You'll be all right. That's what I say. I mean, I'll work on it, Darryl. Don't worry about it. I got it covered.
I know there are some things that I need help with. Absolutely. Actually, we have a question from Facebook that says, what can you grow in a pot or a planter if you don't have a yard? Darryl.
Oh, anything that you can grow outside.
Yeah, you really
can. The one thing that I would say would be like that you probably couldn't do would be like squash, only because it's going to get pretty big.
Okay.
But anything you can grow outside, you can grow it indoors.
Oh, Okay, so you just have to have the right amount of space.
Light.
And lighting and so forth. Okay. Diane joins us from Virginia Beach. Hi, Diane. You're on the air.
Hi. Thank you so much for taking my call. And I just want to join the conversation because you all have so much fun.
Well, thank you.
But I wanted to say that I've been a health and wellness specialist and nutritionist for 17 years. And when I first went into that line of work, midlife change, I thought it would be so easy that everybody, of course, would be concerned about nutrition. And sadly, as I'm sure Dr. Newby can attest to, people only turn to healthy living after they have a problem.
That's
and
true.
It's a whole lot easier to fix something before it breaks than try to fix it after the fact. But I think what I've found over the years is an easier approach because change is hard. You know, I grew up in the South and didn't know vegetables were supposed to crunch until I was 27. So it's taking favorites and making them healthier, just as Darryl was saying. You know, that recipe he gave that sounds wonderful. But learning ways to tweak some of your favorite foods and make them healthier and include them. You know, it's not as scary as it may sound.
Okay. Diane, thanks so much for the call. We really appreciate that. You know, Darryl, Diane brings up a really good point. In terms of if you've been a couch potato, this is all new to you, you're not supposed to go out tomorrow and just change everything all at one time. So ease us into it. I mean, tell us a couple of things that we can start with as we try to change our mindset, because it really is a mindset change, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I'm really glad you asked me that question because this is really, really cool. You can start with just family, period. You can start and stop right there with family. When you get home, go out for like a 20-minute walk. You don't have to do anything that's, you know, above and beyond that's really out there outrageous. Go for a 20-minute walk with your family. Husbands, when you come home, go for a walk with your wife. Wife, vice versa. It's some great quality time. That's 20 minutes. When your kids get home, you can go out back and spend some time with them. That begins to create a whole other kind of relationship with the kids. And in some cases, if the family is totally unified, which is fantastic, then go outside and just do some fun stuff. So there's some things that you can do that are really, really simple that you really, really enjoy. But now, on another side of that, health and wellness starts when you're really, really young. So begin to educate, especially for daughters. Again, I gave another talk to a group of women who were in college. And my first question was, who knows what a fibroid is? Most of the women in the room did not know what a fibroid was. So if you look at your eating, yes, some people have a predisposition to some things that are already going to happen. But your eating will manifest itself later on in your 20s, your 30s, and your 40s and beyond of what you were eating back in your 18, 19, when you could eat anything, you still maintain that Coca-Cola bottle, your waistline was nice. But those same issues begin to come later on in life. Then when it comes to men, if you tell men that if they eat tomatoes, it helps with preventing or delaying like prostate issues, all men will go out and begin to eat tomatoes.
You're right.
And put them in a salad.
You're right.
And put them in a salad. So there comes a point of how do you make it relative to my everyday life. I think that is the one gap that we're kind of missing a little bit.
Yeah, because I tell you what the problem is. I found with us as a general rule is when you start talking certain terms, everything is about perception and how you say certain things and what words you emphasize. You start saying, okay, eat healthy. That's going to turn people off. I mean, unless they have the mindset of wanting to do it. It's kind of almost like it's almost as bad as saying go to the doctor. Because they don't want to go. And they look at that as being that you're taking something away that they have liked instead of saying, and I've almost stopped using the term eat healthy anymore because you'll find with certain people, their perception of that is negative. So I have to find new ways
of saying. Or they
don't
eat the chicken breast and the thigh and the leg, but just eat the chicken breast. We laugh about it, but it is true. I mean, how we say certain things, how we present it to people will impact how they receive it. And it's kind of variable, but you can almost know, and Darryl could probably attest to this, he'll know the personality
when you talk to people enough, and Darryl, I know Darryl is good at this, you can tell when you talk to people and when you start saying certain things, you'll see the negative feedback that they get without them really saying. You could say the body language and things. So I have to learn as a doc, okay, you back off of that, you come at it from a different angle. Sometimes I can tell immediately from the first time I meet somebody, I know exactly what to say, what not to say, because you can just tell based on the body.
So if you don't say eat healthy, what do you say?
Well, you'll say things like, well, what are you eating now? And they'll tell me this, well, listen, look at it like this. If you continue to eat like that, this is going to affect your blood pressure adversely. It's going to create, more heart disease. Won't you try eating this way? And you don't say healthy. I say, instead of eating this, won't you try that? And I found that a lot of times that may be perceived better. A lot of people really do want to know what they're supposed to do, but they don't know how to figure it out. They don't know how to, they don't understand how certain foods impact negatively. So it's just certain key words I have learned to avoid with certain people. Not everybody. There's some people that really do want to know how to eat right and what to do for themselves to make their life better. It's just you got this group of interesting individuals you have to deal with that really look at the world differently. And they don't want to hear that. They don't want to know that. That's that small group of people that runs everybody's shirts up sky high because they tend to be in the emergency room all the time with the same problems because they don't want to change what they're doing now.
If you're just joining us, we're talking about eating healthy and living an active lifestyle with fitness expert Darryl Haley. One of the mindsets, particularly that I hear a lot within our community is, well, I ate this soul food. I grew up on this soul food. I ate this food my whole life. My mama ate this food. She lived to be 90, and so there's that mindset that we don't have to change things in order to stay healthy.
Yeah. But you look at the average life that we have, though. Yeah. You'll see, comparatively speaking, we don't live as long.
Well, and the thing is, too, we also don't work as hard because a lot of times they were growing up, particularly in the rural South, they were doing a lot of physical labor during the day. And so we weren't just sitting around watching television.
Quick example is when I was a medical school student, the issue of fish oil came out then. And the background with that was the Eskimo population, they said, had less heart disease. And they attributed it to the diet that they were eating. These like a lot of salmon and what have you was high in certain types of fish oil that they thought was healthy. So they say, okay, that's when. And we as Americans, we love to try to say, okay, we're going to compact it all in this pill, and that's going to make the difference. But the issue is, I tell people all the time, I look at the world a little differently. I kind of say, okay, let me look at this population. What's different with them? So you look at the exposure. The lifestyle, we're high intensity, we don't do a lot of physical activity, but we have high stress lives. We eat wrong. We do all this stuff. And just doing that one thing and taking that one pill is not going to change the other things we do wrong. And the Eskimo population, I'm sure, is, they're out active, they're doing a lot of physical, things. There's not just, eating a fish and that's it. So I tell people, be careful when you look at certain information. You got to interpret it as, in its totality, not just the singular approach to the world. And that's why I like Darryl's approach. It's a total approach, not just the eating, but the physical activity that goes along with it.
Okay. Darryl is coming to Hampton Roads next month, as a matter of fact, as a guest of Healthy Suffolk. And joining us by phone now is the Executive Director of Healthy Suffolk, Ms. Regina Brayboy. Hi, Regina. How you doing?
Hey, Barbara. Hi, Darryl and Dr. Newby.
How you doing? I think we all know everybody on this phone call.
We're all together today. Absolutely. This is all the families here. So, Regina, would you tell us about Healthy Suffolk and what it is that you all are about, because you spend most of your time trying to figure out ways to help the citizens of Suffolk live a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, we certainly do. Healthy Suffolk is a 15-year-old nonprofit here in Suffolk, and our mission is advancing wellness and livability. We want a community where all of our citizens are healthy. So what we've been focusing on is healthy eating, active living, wellness promotion, and most importantly, building a coalition that is inclusive of the entire community, because we recognize, number one, we need all sectors involved if we're going to be healthy and create this culture of health, and also that we need to recognize there's an equity lens associated with wellness. Not everyone oftentimes has had the same access historically or culturally thought about health in the same way. So we want this opportunity for everybody to be healthy, have access to the resources they need. You guys have been talking about gardens, which ties in very nicely to what a lot of what we do. We help folks have community gardens all throughout the city. We have gardens in schools, at business places, and so we've been very excited about that. We do walking programs, also wanting people to get out and visit our parks and stuff, and Darryl's work ties in so nicely to that, because while you all have talked a lot about the healthy eating component and certainly his active living piece, he does a lot with the national parks to talk about access to parks and how we get out and really utilize parks in a different way, particularly for families and for young people. So this ties in so nicely to what we're doing in terms of bringing Darryl in for our dinner forum, which we call the Art of Supper, and it's kind of like think about Norfolk Forum meets a supper club. So we bring together thought leaders, good food, and art that embraces wellness, health, and making our community livable. So that's what we're all about.
Absolutely. And the event is Sunday, June the 11th at 5 p.m. at the Planners Club in Suffolk, and tickets are available. So people, if you want to check that out and come see Darryl speak also, that is an opportunity to do that. But Darryl, since Regina brought up your work with the national parks, let's talk about that a little bit. What are you doing with the parks, and how are you encouraging people to utilize our natural resources?
Well, one of the things that I'm doing is taking the same approach that Dr. Newby is doing when it comes to how do you begin to word things to people, about, like, what are you eating, what are you doing for your activities. Mm-hmm. And here's one of my favorite ones. You meet people and say, hey, look, let's go for a hike in the park. They go, I don't want to go for a hike. It takes too much. I don't have the shoes, the equipment, the clothing. It's hot. I need water, I don't want any bugs.
Yeah, I'm the bug lady. Okay.
But then you turn around and say, let's go for a walk in the park. And they go, okay.
Okay.
And it's like, so it becomes a matter of just, how you word things. The only difference between a hike and a walk is the terrain, which is basically one's gravel and one's asphalt.
Yeah, so Darryl sneak you out there, and then
10 miles later.
So Darryl said, we just gonna go for a little walk. This,
Right.
You climbing up a 10,000-foot mountain.
That's what I was afraid of. Absolutely.
Hey guys,
Barbara, here's the beauty. Well, Barbara, here's the beauty of it. At least you're going to get another view, okay?
And the other thing we're doing in Suffolk to make the parks a lot of fun, this summer we're having our second park hop, and we have a passport. And so there are clues. It's kind of like a scavenger kind of scenario. We have clues out in 4 parks plus one of our public locations, public spaces here. And so you can pick up your passport, at a number of different locations, particularly here at Healthy Suffolk. And then you can go out to the park and you find the clues. So it's another way to get people out thinking about parks. And so we're trying to make it fun as well.
So, Regina, do you have to be a citizen of Suffolk in order to participate in these events, or can anybody come?
Art of Supper, anyone can come, and absolutely anyone can come to Suffolk and certainly participate in our park hop and get out with respect to our parks. So we are Suffolk-based, but we certainly recognize we want to be a resource, certainly helping people think about how to replicate these programs in their own communities. We have Healthy Suffolk, but there is Healthy Chesapeake, there's Healthy Portsmouth, there's Healthy Norfolk. So this Healthy Communities movement, we're part of it, and we certainly have been around probably the longest. But, kind of think about your own communities, too. There's a lot of healthy activities going on, and we're trying to connect here regionally as well so that we support one another.
So, Regina, let me ask you this. Do you notice a difference, because Suffolk is such a large city, and you have, you really do go from urban to rural in terms of the lifestyles of people. Do you notice a large difference in the population in terms of how people approach healthy living?
Well, I think, certainly your built environment is going to influence that a lot. I mean, clearly if you live in a community where there are walkable sidewalks and you have access to parks and you've got, tree cover and all that kind of thing, you will get out and you will utilize those resources differently. If you're in a rural area, you may have to think a little differently. Certainly you got a lot of wide open space, but you may not have sidewalks. So you may have to look for different kinds of trails to use. And so, we feel we have a little bit of all of that in Suffolk, but I think all communities are kind of like that. We're very fortunate that, we have North Suffolk, which is kind of a more planned community, format in North Suffolk. Downtown is, very historic, has a lot of Southern charm. But then we have rural areas as well, and certainly have an agricultural, history. So there is an opportunity in Suffolk for people to access healthy eating and active living in a number of different ways, not only just in their, their own immediate neighborhood, but they can certainly venture out. And I think that is true of most communities. And I think communities are starting to have that health in all policies lens, thinking about how do we create that built environment, how do we have systems in place that support healthy living, and how do we, advocate for policies. I mean, our church communities are getting involved with looking at the foods that they serve at the church suppers and how do we make those healthy. So I think, our schools are certainly, getting actively involved. Business places are getting involved with the whole notion that, if we can have our employees be healthier, we have walking programs at a number of businesses throughout Suffolk, and they have incentives that they offer. So truly, between your workplace, where you live, where you worship, where you play, there are opportunities to really think about how do I fit wellness and health into that lens of thinking about accessing those resources and also planning for people to utilize resources.
Okay. Well, the event is The Art of Supper. It is Sunday, June the 11th at 5 p.m. at the Planters Club. Regina, is there a phone number or a website people can go to?
Yeah, absolutely. People can go to artofsupper.org or they can call 757-539-1525 for more information.
Okay. Thank you so very much for joining us. We appreciate it. And Darryl Haley will be the keynote speaker at The Art of Supper on Sunday, June the 11th. Thanks so much, Regina. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Darryl, tell us also, your other passion is veterans. And I know that you work particularly with female veterans and spouses of veterans. And you do this thing where you're baking something that may not necessarily be healthy. So tell us what you're baking and how it helps.
Yeah. Well, there's two things I want to touch on. One would be the national parks, just a little bit.
Okay.
I'm going to touch on the piece you asked me about. When you look at the national parks, there are certain inequities that are in and around the national parks as far as dollars, location, transportation, and then the experiences. So when it comes to youth, how we choose to get youth into the parks are through programs that deal with STEAM, as well as, outdoor adventure and environment. So there's some great programs that are going on in the national parks, and then also Healthy Parks, Healthy People, and then Park RX. Park RX is a program where you want to get more people in the park and utilizing the park as a means to deal with hypertension, diabetes, and high cholesterol, more activity versus taking a pill or a drug. Now, when it comes to what you just asked me about baking, baking is something that I'm very, very fond of doing, first of all. And then secondly, I do it for female veterans and the wives of veterans. The goal is I take my baked goods and I receive donations for those to help support everyday life maintenance for female veterans and wives of veterans.
Ah, okay. So what are you baking?
Oh, now that's another question.
Is this those famous cookies of yours, Darryl?
Yeah, buddy. We're talking about all this healthy eating, right?
Exactly.
So everything is done in moderation.
Well, you know what? But seriously, and I was curious because when you bake, you will do custom baking basically for people if they want, and they are cookies. They are
monster
chocolate
cookies.
chip, and you have a variety of different types of chocolate chip cookies. But you only bake 6 at a time. So
only bake 6 at a time.
What's that about?
Well, the whole goal. First of all, I do chocolate chip with walnuts, chocolate chip with pecan, chocolate chip with macadamia nut and a coconut.
Yeah, I remember those too.
They sound good. They sound wonderful. Okay,
they're really good and they're really big. The reason I do 6 at a time is because my mother's from Louisiana, and she always has said, whatever you cook with love. So I can't bake them in quantity. So I do 6 at a time. So when I receive an order, I stop everything that I'm doing and I bake your 6 cookies.
Wow.
And then once I'm done with those, I will bake Dr. Newby's chicken cookies. And I will make Regina's cookies. So it's not a mass production.
Oh.
And so I think every 6 needs to have, I want to have a personal connection with those 6 as they go with people, because there are servicemen and women who are protecting our country, who are giving up their time and their efforts and their families, and they're not doing it on a rest level. They're doing it as a sense of true patriotism. So therefore, I want to give the gift the best that I can in the products that I'm utilizing to support them.
And so the proceeds from the cookies go to veterans and the wives of veterans to help them. Female veterans, right?
Right, with everyday life maintenance. And that can go anywhere from, fixing a broken window, getting the hot water heater fixed. I mean, getting your yard cut, the oil change. Because what I did, I went and met with MIRC, Military Intelligence and Readiness Command, and we talked about the deployment of soldiers. And I asked them a very simple question: what can we do as civilians to help with our soldiers? And they said, well, basic everyday life maintenance. And I said, well, what does that look like? And those are the kind of things that they begin to mention. And I was like, wow, okay, I could do that.
Okay. And if someone wants to order some of your cookies, they would go to your, what website would they go to?
They would go to Darryl Haley, letter B, letter N, letter B.com. Darryl Haley, BNB.com, and just click on Baked Good.
Okay. So there are all of this fitness and so forth that you're doing for folks and helping them out and all are done at in a beautiful bed and breakfast in Luray, Virginia, where you're located. And how did you get into the B&B business?
I got into the B&B business because I love people. I actually think people are fascinating, and I kind of had that feeling when I was playing professional sports. And so once I got done playing, I wanted to see how many people can I meet, how can I spend time with them, how can I talk to them, because, whether we like it or not, as an athlete, from the time you are in junior high school or high school, your time and your lifestyle is regimented. And the better you become, the more regimented it is. And so when I got done playing, I was like, I want to meet as many people as I can and just enjoy life with people. And so I got into the B&B.
And it's the bomb too. I'm gonna tell you.
Really?
I mean, I don't say that very often about many places I've been, but you go up there with Darryl. I'm gonna tell you, he makes you feel like you're a king. I mean, he makes you feel welcome. He just knows how to do it right. I had the best time up there, and have you ever been to Luray, Virginia?
No, I have not. So
it's not, by definition, it's not a whole lot up there, but he makes it seem like it's a whole lot up there. I mean, if you're like a city kind of guy, then if Darryl wasn't there, I wouldn't have been that. I mean, it's pretty. It's very
picturesque.
Very much so. But he makes he
and
has
the
his
Luray
way.
Caverns are there, right?
Yeah, but once you've gone through that a couple of times, you're like, okay, yeah, party's over. But he takes. I mean, he really gets you into that fitness aspect of doing things that makes it a more exciting place. And when you go there and then he bakes some cookies for you and then you get all fat on those and he takes you work your butt off and you lose all the plus some once he gets done with you. But you really it was a great experience. I mean, it's a great experience, and I would encourage anybody to go, and you'll see what I'm talking about if you go.
And Darryl, you also do some things with the national parks in terms of music that also assist the veterans. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I do a program called Music at the Monument. Music at the Monument is a music therapy program to assist veterans with PTSD. And the goal of that one is or the action item, should I say, is education, homelessness, hunger, and employment and reintegration. And so we utilize music as the medium where words fail, music speaks, to help connect people back to their communities and help them begin to move forward within their life. So there's a lot of programs that come out from the federal government, from the Veterans Affairs, from people with jobs, from people with home vouchers, with food, but we utilize music as a form of therapy, as a medium to make that happen. So
far you've held those in Washington, D.C., in the suburbs of Washington. Is that right?
Yeah, we do it on the National Mall, actually, which is at the Sylvan Theater. And what I like about the National Mall is literally, if we talk for 2 minutes, we will be at the base of the monument. That's where we hold the concerts.
Ah.
And so if you look at the whole, what's around you, you have the World War II Memorial, the Vietnam Memorial, you have the Lincoln, you have the Jefferson, you have the Capitol, you have the Native American, the African American Museum, the Smithsonian. Behind us, we have the Holocaust. So technically, and then you have the monument itself, if you know the history behind that.
Sure.
So the area itself looks like the portal to America. So those are the same individuals, the veterans in which we are helping to serve, help create the things that we're looking at, and you can get them all in one place. And then the musicians who perform are usually a part of the Recording Academy, or there's a veteran in the band, or the whole band itself is a veteran band. And the music is absolutely fabulous, and it's all free.
Oh, wow. That is great. So there's a schedule on your website for that also, I assume?
There is, but that website is music@themonument.com.
Oh, okay, and we will put these websites up on our website, anotherviewradio.com. So we've got 2 minutes left in this conversation. I'll tell you, it really has flown by quickly. But as someone is starting to do an exercise regimen or whatever, what is the one thing that you want to caution them about as they begin, Darryl?
Trying to do something that someone expects you to do versus doing what you can do. And so what I mean by that is, if you feel comfortable enough to go out and walk for 20 minutes or walk for a half a mile, just make sure you dress properly, you have comfortable shoes, and take some water with you. But don't go out with somebody who says, hey, look, this is what I can do. You should do it with me. No. Stay within your own zone. Your body will tell you when to move forward.
I hope my husband, Mr. Lee, is listening about stay in your own zone and follow what you can do. Darryl, we are so excited about the fact that you're coming to Hampton Roads. You will be here on Sunday, June the 11th at the Art of Supper that is held at the Planters Club in Suffolk. And if you want more information about how to see Darryl and hear his inspirational talk to help all of us become more healthy, you can go to healthysuffolk.org and find out more information, or artofsupper.org and find out more information. Darryl, thank you so very much. You are just a joy to talk with on the air, and we are looking forward to seeing you soon.
Oh, you're very welcome, and I can't wait. I really cannot wait.
Okay, thank you so much. That is Darryl Haley. He is an entrepreneur. He is a baker, an Ironman triathlete, a veterans advocate, a fitness fanatic. He's all of that, Keith. Isn't he?
Very much so.
Absolutely.
Very much so.
And we will be right back.
Hello, this is Spike Lee. What's happening? And you listen to Another View.
And welcome back. There are thousands and thousands of books, stories, and articles written about the enslaved Africans who helped build this country. But you don't hear much about the millions who chose death over a life of enslavement during the Middle Passage from Africa to America. On June 10th, those ancestors will be honored during the 6th annual Day of Remembrance ceremony at Buckrow Beach. Our Lisa Godley sat down with Shadra Pittman Walk, the woman organizing this important look back at American history.
We must reclaim these bones in the Atlantic Ocean, all these African bodies in the briny deep.
On June 10th, on the shores of Buckrow Beach, hundreds will gather for a spiritual ceremony to pay tribute to the ancestors who chose death over a life of enslavement. Shadra Pittman Walk has been organizing this event for the past 6 years, but she's quick to point out that it started in New York in the 1980s.
It's really the brainchild of Toni K. Bambara, who is an author and an activist, and she was at a storytellers conference and said, we need to honor our ancestors of the Middle Passage. We need to tap into that ancestral presence in the water. And so from that ceremony, Coney Island started their remembrance ceremony, or their tribute to the ancestors.
After moving to Hampton Roads and learning the narrative of the beginning and end of slavery at Point Comfort, She thought this region the perfect place to continue the remembrance.
To me, it was a critical story of the people who never made it off the enslavement ships. And we know that millions of people were transported during the transatlantic enslavement trade, and they never received a proper burial.
During the ceremony, you're likely to see a sea of people, some dressed in all white, others in traditional African attire. The ceremony offers a place to see and hear the sights and sounds of Africa. But it's more than music, dance, and a tribute to the past. It's a time to connect with the community.
So there's a woman who is in charge of the Southeast Care Coalition. She's going to speak about what's happening with regards to the health and social justice issues, or injustice issues, I should say, with downtown Newport News. So those kinds of conversations are going to be had. It's a platform where people can come and talk about the work that they're doing in the community. And people come and do poetry, theatrical presentations, they sing, they dance. A lot of impromptu things happen at Remembrance as well.
I asked Shadra why she thinks so little is said about the Middle Passage.
I think, Lisa, people are embarrassed to talk about slavery in the Middle Passage. I think there's shame on the other side. People don't want to talk about it. They say, oh, that's not my fault. It was a long time ago. But what happens is that, we have these other events in history that we have no problem talking about. We can talk about the Trail of Tears and how horrible it was with the decimation of the Native Americans. We can talk about the Holocaust and what happened with the Jewish population being massacred. We can talk about those things, but for some reason, when it comes to slavery, people don't want to talk about it. And I think it's because it happened here. I think it's, we can talk about what happened in Germany, but we don't want to talk about what happened right here in the United States. And I think we do our children a disservice when we don't tell the truth about the contributions which free labor gave to this country and internationally. I mean, think about that. Years, hundreds of years of free labor, and the world benefited.
To make sure the story continues, Shadra founded the Sankofa Projects and shares the history behind the name.
Sankofa is an Adinkra word. It comes out of the Akan people of Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana in West Africa. And Adinkras are actually symbols. They're actually funerary cloth that is given to the loved one when one passes away.
Two of the symbols are hearts, but then there's a third.
The third symbol is a bird. It's a bird that has its feet pointing forward and its head is turned backwards at its tail. And there's an egg which it is facing. And the symbolism behind that is that in order to know where you're going with the feet pointing forward, you have to know where you've come from. And so the egg is symbolic of the future generations. Slavery is not African history. It interrupted African history. So we go back. We go back to African traditional spiritual ways.
Ways that can be experienced during the Remembrance Ceremony at Buckrow Beach. For Another View, I'm Lisa Godley.
And if you'd like to attend the Remembrance Ceremony, all you need to do is show up at 11 a.m. on Saturday, June the 10th at Buckrow Beach in Hampton. Also, in terms of the Art of Supper, those websites are theartofsupper.org or Healthy Suffolk, Virginia, VA, healthysuffolkva.org. Thank you so much for listening to Another View. If you have some show ideas you'd like to share, email us at contact@anotherviewradio.org. You can find our podcasts at anotherviewradio.org. We're on Facebook, so please like us. And I'm on Twitter at Barbara Hamm Lee. Next time on Another View, actively caring for people policing, training for police officers that build positive citizen-police relations. Our guest is Bobby Kipper, founder and director of the National Center for the Prevention of Community Violence. Our theme music was composed and performed by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Victor Bowen is our audio engineer, and Trey Watson answered our phones. I'm Barbara Hamm Lee. Enjoy this holiday weekend, and thank you so very much for listening to Another View.